Your dog is lying by the door. You haven't said a word yet. You haven't touched your keys, haven't put on your shoes, haven't done any of the obvious things, and yet somehow they already know. The tail stops wagging, the panting slows, the eyes, usually so bright and reactive, go still and heavy, fixed on you with an expression that looks almost like resignation. And then the strangest part, they get quiet. Not sad barking, not whining, not following you room to room the way they might have as a puppy. Just quiet, watching, waiting. Most owners see this and think their dog is being calm, mature, well-behaved. But what's actually happening in that moment is one of the most profound and heartbreaking pieces of canine psychology ever studied. And almost every dog owner in the Western world is unknowingly making it worse. To understand this silence, you have to understand what a dog's brain is actually built for. Roughly 15,000 years of coevolution didn't just make dogs friendly. It rewired their neurology around a single organizing principle: proximity to you equals survival. Wolves evolved to track prey using scent and pack cohesion. Dogs evolved to track something far more specific: the emotional and behavioral patterns of a single human being. Modern neuroimaging studies on domestic dogs have shown that the caudate nucleus, a brain region associated with reward and anticipation, lights up in response to the scent of a familiar owner more strongly than it does for food. Let that sink in for a moment. Your smell, to your dog's brain, can register as more valuable than dinner. If you've ever noticed your dog burying their nose in your worn t-shirt or your unwashed pillow while you're gone, type 1 in the comments, because that's not random. That's an attachment-driven olfactory ritual, and we'll come back to exactly why it matters in a few minutes. So when a dog goes quiet before you leave, it isn't calmness. It's the opposite. It's a nervous system entering an anticipatory stress state, and the silence is the symptom, not the solution. Here's the mechanism. Dogs are exquisitely sensitive to micro-patterns, the specific order in which you move through your house before departure. Which sock goes on first? The particular jingle of one keychain versus another. The change in your breathing as your mind shifts toward the outside world. None of this is conscious on your part, but your dog's brain has spent months, sometimes years, building an associative map of your pre-departure sequence, and once enough of those cues stack up, their amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, begins triggering a stress response before you've even reached the door. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, begins rising in their bloodstream. Heart rate increases. And paradoxically, many dogs respond to this rising internal alarm not with noise, but with behavioral shutdown. It's called learned stillness, and it's a documented response across many social mammals when a stressor feels unavoidable. Your dog isn't accepting your departure peacefully. Your dog is bracing for it. This is where the heartbreak really deepens, because what looks like quiet obedience is often something closer to quiet grief. Dogs form attachment bonds that behavioral scientists now classify using frameworks originally developed for human infants. Specifically, the strange situation test, first designed to study mother-infant bonding. When researchers ran modified versions of this test on dogs, the results were staggering. Dogs displayed the same core attachment behaviors as human toddlers, using their owner as a secure base to explore an unfamiliar room, and showing clear distress-linked behavior when that owner left. If your dog has ever gone to the window and stayed there minutes after your car disappeared, type 2 in the comments, because that behavior has now been measured and confirmed in controlled studies. It isn't exaggeration, and it isn't just something dog lovers tell themselves to feel special. But here's the part almost nobody talks about, the part that turns this from a sad observation into something you can actually change. The quiet stillness before departure is deeply connected to the oxytocin feedback loop that defines the human-dog bond. Oxytocin, often nicknamed the bonding hormone, is released in both humans and dogs during eye contact, physical affection, and even mutual gazing, a discovery that stunned researchers when they first measured it, because that kind of interspecies oxytocin loop had previously only been documented between mothers and their own biological infants. Every time you and your dog lock eyes affectionately, both of your brains release oxytocin simultaneously, deepening the bond in real time. Departure disrupts this loop abruptly. One moment the loop is active, sustaining a kind of biochemical safety net, and the next moment it's severed and your dog's parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for that rest and digest calm state, doesn't have time to downshift gently. It just drops off a cliff. The quiet you're seeing isn't peace. It's a nervous system in mid-freefall, trying to process a loss of connection it doesn't have the cognitive tools to reason its way through. Most owners make this moment worse without realizing it, and this is the part that will genuinely reshape how you leave your house tomorrow morning. The instinct almost everyone has is to either sneak out quietly, hopping to avoid the sad goodbye, or to overcompensate with a long, emotional, guilt-driven farewell, extra hugs, a raised emotional voice, prolonged eye contact right at the door. Both approaches, according to behavioral conditioning research, actually intensify anticipatory anxiety over time. Sneaking out teaches the dog's brain that departures are unpredictable and threatening, since there's no reliable cue to prepare for, which paradoxically heightens hypervigilance, meaning your dog starts scanning constantly for the moment you might vanish. And the big emotional goodbye does something almost identical from the opposite direction. It confirms, biochemically, that departure is a significant, arousal-spiking event worth bracing for, because your own elevated emotional state is being mirrored directly into your dog's nervous system. Dogs are remarkably accurate readers of human emotional state. One well-known study found that dogs could correctly match the emotional tone of a human voice to the corresponding facial expression at rates far above chance, blending auditory and visual emotional cues, the way very few non-primate species have been shown to do. If your dog has ever gotten more anxious specifically when you got emotional about leaving, rather than when you left quickly and calmly, type 3 in the comments, because you've witnessed this exact phenomenon firsthand without having a name for it until right now. What actually works, according to the behavioral science, sounds almost too simple, and that's part of what makes it so easy for well-meaning owners to overlook. The goal is to systematically decouple your departure cues from emotional intensity, slowly teaching your dog's amygdala that these signals are neutral rather than threatening. That means practicing your triggers, picking up your keys, putting on your shoes at random points throughout the day when you're not actually leaving, so the cues stop reliably predicting abandonment. It means keeping your actual exit low-key, almost boringly casual, denying the moment the emotional charge that spikes cortisol. And it means, when you return, resisting the urge to make a huge reunion spectacle, because ironically, an explosive greeting reinforces to your dog's brain that your absence was indeed a dangerous, high-stakes event worth all that anticipatory dread. Calm departures paired with calm returns are, according to canine behaviorists, one of the most reliable ways to lower baseline separation-related cortisol over just a few weeks of consistent practice. There's something almost unbearably tender hidden inside all of this science, though, and it's worth sitting with for a moment. Every single day, in millions of homes across the world, a creature with no understanding of clocks, calendars, or return times chooses to love a human being so completely that their own nervous system rearranges itself entirely around that person's comings and goings. Your dog doesn't know you'll be back in 8 hours. All they know in that quiet, still moment by the door is that the single most important relationship in their world is walking away, and they have no language, no timeline, nothing but instinct and hope to hold onto until you return. And when you do come home, and that same dog erupts into pure, unfiltered joy that isn't performance, that's an authentic biochemical celebration, oxytocin flooding back into a system that spent the day quietly, achingly, waiting for exactly this moment. If this changed the way you'll say goodbye to your dog tomorrow morning, That's exactly why channels like this one exist. To translate the hidden science behind the silent moments we walk past every single day without understanding what they truly mean. Subscribe because your dog has 1,000 more of these quiet, unspoken signals. And in the next video, we're going to decode exactly what's happening in their brain in the seconds right before they fall asleep against you. A moment even more revealing than the one we just uncovered together.